The African sun rises, not quietly, but with authority, golden light pouring across endless horizons, kissing the red earth awake. Cities hum in the distance, villages stir with life, and a continent that has known both glory and grief breathes once more. Yet beneath the rhythm of drums and the laughter of markets, there was a silence, a question whispered across generations. What does success mean in Africa today? We build towers of glass, we wear imported suits, we chase titles written in foreign tongues, but something sacred feels missing. The deeper we climb, the further we seem to drift from the spirit that wants to find us. We are told we are rising, yet many of us do not feel lifted. Our ancestors spoke of greatness measured not in gold, but in goodness, not in wealth, but in wisdom. The modern world tells us that success is power, visibility, and control. But Africa's ancient heart beats to a different rhythm, one that once knew success not as a possession but as a purpose shared with others. Somewhere between those two worlds, something precious has been lost. This is the dark truth about success in Africa. Long before skyscrapers touched the sky of Nairobi or Lagos, before currencies replaced cowrie shells, Africa understood prosperity as harmony. In the kingdoms of Kush and Mali, wealth was inseparable from responsibility. The great emperors Sundiata Keita, Mansa Musa, Taharqa ruled not merely for conquest, but to sustain balance, to protect life. When Mansa Musa journeyed to Mecca in the 14th century, he left behind trails of gold so abundant that they disrupted economies. Yet his legend was not only for his riches, but for his devotion to education and faith. He built libraries, mosques, and centers of knowledge. To him, gold was not glory, it was a tool for enlightenment. Today, many of us chase the gold but forget the wisdom. We inherit the hunger of empires but not their spirit. We've been taught that success means standing above others, but Africa's ancient philosophy, Ubuntu, Maat, Ujamaa, whispered a different truth. That to rise alone is to fall in spirit. Ubuntu says, "I am because we are." Maat, the Egyptian principle of cosmic order, declared that one cannot prosper while causing imbalance. Ujamaa, from Tanzania's founding vision, believed in shared wealth and dignity, not competition but cooperation. Yet modern Africa, molded by centuries of colonial interruption, finds itself chasing a dream that was never truly ours. The Western definition of success, individual triumph, endless accumulation, has replaced the communal pulse that once defined our greatness. Our cities grow higher, but our hearts grow hollow. Success in Africa has become a strange theater. In the streets of Addis Ababa, Accra, Johannesburg, and Kinshasa, we see billboards shouting prosperity, politicians promising transformation, influencers flaunting lifestyles. But beneath the glitter lies a quiet crisis, a soul untethered. We chase education not to learn but to escape. We build businesses not to serve but to be seen. Our young men measure worth in cars and followers, our young women in luxury and visibility. We imitate the noise of success, yet many are haunted by emptiness, the feeling that something is off, that success no longer feels like home. In truth, Africa's darkness is not poverty of resources, but poverty of purpose. The land that birthed civilization, that mapped the stars, healed with plants, sang to the rain, now looks to others for validation. And this is the great tragedy of our time. We have forgotten who we are. In the village of my grandmother, success was measured in stories. The man who shared his harvest was celebrated more than the man who hoarded it. The woman who raised the children of the village was honored as much as the chief. Life was not a race, but a rhythm, a song sung in harmony. Elders would say, when your neighbor's house burns, the smoke enters yours. That was success, the understanding that no one stands alone. Today, we scroll past suffering as if it's entertainment. We compete for survival instead of connection. And though our homes are filled with devices, many hearts remain disconnected from each other, from the ancestors, from purpose itself. Our success has become performative, a mask we wear to hide our fear of insignificance. The ancient Africans understood something the modern mind often forgets. The greatest wealth is alignment, with self, with nature, and with the divine. In the temples of Egypt, the word Ma'at carried a meaning far deeper than law. It meant truth, balance, and justice woven together. Pharaohs were not kings by birthright alone. They had to live in accordance with Ma'at. If they disturbed the balance of the universe through greed or cruelty, they were no longer fit to rule. Success without balance was considered a form of madness. Compare that to our leaders today. Many build monuments to their egos while their people starve. They speak of progress but sow division. They hold power but not purpose. They are rich in possessions and poor in soul. We call them successful, but by the measure of our ancestors, they are lost. There was a story told among the Yoruba people of a wealthy man who threw a feast for the village. He roasted goats, poured palm wine, and invited everyone to eat. But as the people gathered, they realized something strange. Every dish was tasteless. The food had no salt. When the man was asked why, he said, "I wanted to remind you that no matter how rich the meal, it is nothing without the small things that give it flavor." Success is like that. Without humility, without service, without soul, it is tasteless. Yet modern Africa is full of grand meals without salt, skyscrapers without morality, education without wisdom, politics without purpose. We have mistaken imitation for progress. We wear imported clothes, speak foreign languages, and celebrate foreign holidays, yet our own spiritual heritage lies buried in the soil. But Africa is not dead. It sleeps, waiting for those who remember. In the quiet corners of villages, in the teachings of elders, in the rhythm of traditional drums, the truth still lives. There are people rebuilding with conscience, farmers reviving ancestral methods, leaders who govern with humility, young people reconnecting with heritage. They understand that success in Africa must begin with restoration, not of the past, but of the principle that the human spirit cannot flourish in isolation. They understand that Africa's future depends not on competing with the world, but on remembering its soul.
The dark truth about success in Africa is that we have been chasing someone else's dream. We measure ourselves by a system designed to keep us yearning. We are told that success is luxury, yet luxury has become the new poverty, the poverty of meaning. We are told that success is independence, yet independence without community breeds loneliness. We are told that success is fame, yet fame without legacy fades like dust in the wind. Our ancestors never sought fame, they sought harmony. They built civilizations that honored both earth and spirit. They understood that the river that nourishes you can also drown you, that every blessing requires balance. In Akan belief, there is the concept of Sankofa, the bird that looks backward while moving forward, carrying an egg in its mouth. It means go back and fetch what you have forgotten. Success for Africa begins there, not in imitation, but in remembrance. Somewhere in Nairobi, a young man scrolls through his phone, comparing his life to the highlight reels of others. He feels small, unseen. He believes he has failed because he does not have the latest car or the biggest house. Yet in the eyes of his ancestors, he is rich, for he is alive, breathing, capable of kindness, capable of purpose. Somewhere in Dakar, a woman wakes before dawn to sell fruit by the roadside. Her hands are rough, her income small, but she greets every stranger with warmth, feeds her children, and prays for others. She too is successful because she lives with Ubuntu. Our true measure of success is not what we accumulate, but what we awaken in ourselves, in others, in the land that gave us life. In African cosmology, the circle is sacred. It represents continuity, the eternal flow between birth, death, and rebirth. Every act returns to its source. So too with success. What we give returns multiplied, what we hoard decays in our hands. The dark truth is that many of us are trapped in linear thinking, the Western race from start to finish, from poverty to wealth, from obscurity to fame. But life in Africa was never linear. It was cyclical. It taught that every gain must serve the whole, that every victory must restore balance. When we forget that, success turns to poison. Look around, where greed replaces generosity, where pride replaces purpose, where envy replaces empathy, communities crumble. Corruption spreads, not just in governments, but in hearts. And the saddest part is that the land still gives, the earth still forgives, waiting for us to remember.
The time has come for a new definition of success in Africa, one that returns to the old. Imagine a future where our universities teach not only economics, but ethics, where our leaders quote not only Western theories, but the wisdom of the ancestors, where success means healing the soil, feeding the hungry, lifting the forgotten. Imagine businesses built on Ubuntu, where profit is shared, where dignity is preserved, where innovation serves humanity, not ego. Imagine youth who see greatness not in leaving Africa, but in transforming it, who carry laptops in one hand and ancestral wisdom in the other. That is success, not the kind that ends with applause, but the kind that echoes through generations. The philosopher Ptahhotep wrote in ancient Kemet, "Do not be proud of your knowledge. Consult the ignorant and the wise, for the limits of knowledge cannot be reached." True success, then, is humility, the recognition that wisdom belongs to no one and everyone. Africa has given the world gold, diamonds, music, and art, but its greatest gift has always been spirit, the understanding that humanity itself is sacred. If we lose that, no empire we build will stand. Success without soul is failure in disguise. The dark truth about success in Africa is not that we cannot succeed. It is that we have forgotten what success truly means. But there is hope, because memory is power. Every drumbeat, every proverb, every ancestor's whisper calls us to remember. The soil still holds the stories. The wind still carries the songs. Africa does not need saving. It needs remembering. As the sun sets over the savannah, the horizon glows like an ember, ancient and eternal. Somewhere, an elder's voice rises in the dusk. Child of the soil, do not measure your worth by what the world gives you. Measure it by what you give back to the world. His words hang in the air like prayer, soft but unshakable. Because success, in its truest form, is not having more, it is becoming more. Becoming more honest, more compassionate, more connected. Africa's rise will not come from imitating others, but from remembering itself, from embracing the sacred truth that the continent has carried since time began, that we are, because we are, together. So when the noise of ambition grows too loud, pause. Listen for the heartbeat beneath the chaos, the heartbeat of Africa, steady and ancient. Let it remind you that your success means nothing if it leaves others behind, Let it teach you that greatness is not measured in wealth, but in the peace you create. The dark truth about success is not meant to shame us. It is meant to awaken us, to turn our gaze inward, back towards the soil, the ancestors, and the timeless truth that no one truly wins unless we all do. Remember this, and Africa will rise not just in riches, but in spirit, because the greatest success story this continent will ever tell is when it remembers its soul.